What's up, guys? Welcome to Sip and Rip It podcast. My name is Nathan. I'm joined with my co-host Zack today. We have a pretty fun discussion. Well, somewhat fun discussion today. Depending on who you ask.
How much you enjoy pain. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, follow us on Instagram at Sip and Rip It, at Nathan Skadios for me. And you actually have a...
Yeah, so I have... I don't even remember the handle.
I think it's
ZG underscore...
Summer Shred? Summer Shredding?
Summer Shred something.
Summer Shred Transformation?
Journey. ZG underscore Summer Shred Journey. I had to create one for the Summer Shredding event, so I'm back on Instagram in some capacity. Still not really using it like a personal page, so if your name's not Nathan, Austin, Casey, or Elizabeth... I probably ain't responding to DMs, just saying.
But are you letting people follow it? Like,
oh, yeah, people can follow it all they want to. But like I said, I'm not like... I'm doing it because I have to, not because I want to. So outside of, our circle of friends, probably ain't answering much, to be honest with you.
That's fair. So, Instagram's out of the way.
Oh, rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. So
yeah, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, you got to do it, though.
I need to check.
All 5 of you, please rate us 5 stars on
I've done it.
I have, too. That's cheesy as fuck, but I have personally done it.
It shows me, like, you're one of the first people to rate 5 stars. I'm like, one of the only ones.
It's just me and you, dog.
It probably is, because nobody else...
Sandy might have done it for us.
Yeah. Does she have a Spotify account?
She has started listening to her podcast exclusively on Spotify. Okay. Which makes sense. It's a little easier to find a podcast on Spotify than it is on Apple Music.
I've actually noticed a lot of people are switching to primarily Spotify or exclusively to Spotify because you can actually upload video to Spotify now. No. So that might be something we think about in the future, but for now we'll...
Yeah, we're stretched a little thin on our social media management between all my businesses and you doing the podcast for us. So
and full-time job and other obligations that are soon to be on the way.
Well, they're on their way. They're not soon to be on their way. They're on their
way. They're soon to be here.
Soon to be here.
Soon to be here.
It is what it is.
So, drinks today are very interesting.
Yeah, this is a whole made-up thing by me, but we're going to have a little bit of an video for you guys next week. Involving some screwball, and I'm not going to tell you what else, but we already had the screwball, long story short. So I made, screwball is a peanut butter whiskey, so I made peanut butter and jelly old fashions. So
with strawberry jelly.
Yeah, so I got strawberry flavoring for my simple syrup, basically strawberry simple syrup, the screwball whiskey, and then chocolate bitters, because I just felt like that made more sense than what we normally would use, which is orange bitters. So
yeah, because citrusy probably...
It's not super chocolately.
No, it's not. I barely even noticed that it has chocolate.
Yeah, but I feel like that made a lot more sense than an orange bitter, to be honest with you, in this particular situation. So the only thing I would say, the orange bitter would have made the whole thing less sweet, but...
That's true.
It's really not that bad for a cocktail that's mainly liquor. It's not too bad sweet. So
no, it is sweet, though. It's sweet enough to where you can kind of get a PB&J feel, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it tastes like a PB&J. I think I'd pretty damn good concoction on my part.
Unless you hate PB&Js. You have some words on people who hate PB&Js?
Yeah, they're...
Not human?
They're something less than. Subprimal.
Subprimal. Since Liver King's kind of dead, we can start using that term.
Oh, I've been using it anyway. Well, fuck him.
Yeah. Nobody cares about him anymore. So, PR songs. I wrote some down. Did you?
No, but I can look like always.
Let's see.
You have some ready then, huh?
I do. I try to be prepared if I can be. So I'm gonna go with 2.
Sorry.
I'm gonna hope that this one isn't already on there. But Revival of Darkness by Shokron. I think I started listening to it 2020, 2021, I can't remember exactly, but it was one of the songs that I originally listened to get hyped up in the gym when I first started powerlifting, and it was just kind of one of those. It has a really interesting breakdown because it's not super heavy, and he's clean vocal through it all, but it's really cool. And I think that was the first song I heard by them. And I listened to that whole album through, loved it. I've listened to several albums since then. But that one gets me riled up in the gym, so I'll put that one on there.
Hell yeah. My first one is a band that Clay sent us before. I'm sure you've listened to them, but I found a different song by him because it's off an older album than what he had sent. But Praise the Sun by Darko. Mm-hmm. Pretty fucking badass song. Yeah.
Darko is dope.
Yeah, it's a badass song. So I'm not really familiar with the band, so I don't have any like long-winded answer as to why I'm listening to it because it's kind of brand new to me on a workout playlist, but it slaps. So,
all right, my second one is, I think it's brand new. I know I just heard it on Spotify just recently, and you're probably going to give me a little bit of hell about it, but
maybe not.
It's "Down We Go" by Code Orange, and it's like it's not heavy in a traditional sense. It's very much like serial killer vibes when you listen to it.
I'm with some serial killer
It's
vibes.
like, it's real interesting. I don't even remember if there's any vocals because it's really just ambient the whole time, and something about serial killer sounding music gets me like really like intense in the gym. It may not be like fired up, ready to go, but it's just like a kind of like cold, calm, just like I'm about to kill this shit.
Yeah, so I mean that's the reason I like Vincent Bennett of the Acacia Strain because everything he sings about is pretty much about killing somebody. So
right.
I like the serial killer vibes. I will keep it the same serial killer vibe because it's actually about a serial killer. China White 2 by He Is Legend. So it's a series of songs. The first one's a little lighter. It's basically about this wealthy family who has hired this gardener who is batshit crazy and. Throughout the story, he eventually, chops them all up and uses them as fertilizer. But the only heavy song of the series is China White 2, and it's extremely heavy. But it's a pretty old song. I think it's 10 or 15 years old now, but fucking dope. Yeah. We'll stay with the serial killer vibes. I like that band in general. Even their light and happy sounding stuff, there's just like this white noise or pink noise or something in the background of everything that just makes everything they do feel... Because it's not real super traditional like metalcore or anything like we listen to. It's definitely a little lighter, but like it just feels crazy when you're listening to them. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like there's, and some of it's the content. You know what I mean? The content's pretty dark. So yeah, China White 2.
Content like the ambience and the lyrics and everything make a huge difference in when you're listening to it. Because if like, there's bands like We Butter the Bread with Butter. They don't sing about very like they're kind of heavy, fast, but they don't really sing about anything intense. And you can kind of listen to it, kind of bop around a little bit, honestly. But like if it was the same music, but the lyrics were different, that makes you feel a different way.
I like stuff that feels a little crazy, a little manic. Mm-hmm. And I've always liked them for that. It feels very, even when they're not being super artsy and out there, it feels very. It feels super artsy and out there.
Right.
If that makes sense. So I like them, but give that song a listen.
Yeah.
You got one more piece or?
Nah.
With 2?
I'm good with 2. If you're
cool. I'm good with 2. Yeah.
So, are we missing anything or are we straight in?
What have we been doing in the gym?
That's right. Yeah. So I've been deloading and I definitely needed it because I went to pull 455 for 4 and it felt like 600 pounds. So I was like, yeah, this was about that time. My bench didn't take a hit at all, but all of my lower body lifts took a hit, so I was feeling it. Didn't do anything particularly interesting other than on my RDLs, I decided to try and do it from a deficit and tried to get it in my glutes a little more than normal, but kind of just felt the same. It felt like it hit my lower back a little more because of the further extension. So I don't know if I'm going to keep doing them from a deficit, but because it was going to be light for low reps, I wanted to do something a little different.
Dr. Mike thing, and I really like them. I don't use the Smith machine for much, but doing your deficit RDLs on the Smith machine can kind of control that. And
yeah. I just feel like, I guess it's a personal thing, but I feel like I push my butt as far back as I possibly can, and I still end up rounded a little bit at the bottom.
Well, the good thing about the Smith machine is the only thing you can do is push your butt back, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to get a lot of forward travel because it's fixed.
Right. It's just going to go straight.
It's fixed. So, I would try that just to see. Very rarely do we use one, but I will use one for bent over rows, seated overhead presses. On a very rare occasion, I'll use them for incline.
Yeah.
But that's bridges. I'm gonna glute bridges, and I'm feeling real fucking lazy if I use a Smith machine for incline now. But I will occasionally do it. So it's just what it is. Mine, I mean, I went back to officially I'm down like 7.4. So, but I went back to a bodybuilding program, a lot of reps. So back from being with Ron and doing anywhere from 75 to 150 reps a day, I'm back 300 to 600. My 600 rep days has only been on my leg days because of what we'll discuss later, but it's all like rehab reps basically. So it's like 20, 30, 40 reps with very, very light weight because that's all I can handle right now. So that's one reason why the reps sounds extremely high.
Yeah.
Because they are, but it's also ridiculously light.
Yeah. So
just to get blood in them. But I mean, nothing cool of note really other than the weight loss because I mean, that's the goal right now. So, definitely it's fun to do some movements I haven't done in a while. Back doing overhead presses on a barbell.
Are you doing those
pull-ups and dips? I'm doing them standing. Okay. I just love. We talked about it on Fuck, Marry, Kill. I love. I love overhead press. So it's doing them standing, and then I think I told you I programmed a more athletic based, not necessarily power building based program. So I'm doing it's pretty common in sports for people's shoulder health to program a 2-to-1 pull push ratio, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. So I'm pulling twice as often as I'm pushing, basically. Yeah. So all my shoulder work, it looks like RDLs, not RDLs. I'm sorry, upright rows, lateral raises, shit like that. A lot of rowing motions, face pulls, doing a lot of lat work, and I'm doing very little direct front delt work and direct chest work. Yeah. So. This is what it is. Most of my chest work, other than barbell incline, most of my chest work's on either dumbbells or the plate-loaded equipment that we have. Yeah. So,
which is extremely nice to have access to.
It is super, super nice to have access to.
So you're not doing any flat bench at all?
No, and man, and when I can squat again, I'm not going to do any barbell squats either. I have, back squats anyway. I have front squats and SSB planned for this block. I was able to front squat the other day, not very much. It was an empty barbell. But yeah, I'm trying to give my elbows a fucking break. Yeah. And then I actually know what's wrong with them now, so I'm going to be able to address that technically when I bring a back squat back. So, right. But yeah, that's what I've done. Nothing too exciting at the moment.
Neither of us have done anything real exciting.
No, and I can't really do cardio to the ability I would like to be right now, so I really haven't added any cardio, so all my weight loss has come from just the extra work and being in a calorie deficit. Right. So, it is what it is.
Well, so that's pretty much all the normal stuff out of the way. So now we'll get into the big topic here today, which is the meet recap. Because you had a meet, was it last weekend or 2 weeks ago? I forget.
A week from yesterday.
A week from yesterday.
Yeah.
20 days ago.
So, yeah. I went and participated in a powerlifting meet, and that's about all. That's about all I can say. No, it was a rough day. I was very prepared. Other than some elbow tendonitis and a minor thing in my pec, I really came into it super healthy. Mm-hmm. Elbow tendonitis had really laid off because volume, obviously, through my peak had steadily declined, so it really wouldn't bother me much anymore. And I was on top of some physical therapy to keep my elbows healthy and stuff too, so went pretty well. But had a pretty conservative squat opener at 451. Absolutely crushed it, threw it through the ceiling. There was, it felt like an empty barbell, and there was no indicator at that point that what would happen next would happen because I felt 100% going into my second squat.
Yeah, and when I watched it, I was like, oh man, that was nothing. That was an easy,
Yeah, honest to God, if Ron would have told me to go up and take 520 for my second attempt, I wouldn't have told him no. Right. It would have been a crazy jump, but I was very confident in my ability to squat 500 plus. And do it well. And then, he made the jump that we planned for, which was just under 480. What was it, 478, 479, something like that.
Something like that.
And at the bottom of it, my IT band popped, and it wrecked my day. So didn't get my second squat attempt, had to waive my third. Had to make a business decision about bench press. Decided to stay in the meet. Moved my grip in, so I kind of did a close grip bench press, but ended up having a decent bench press day anyway. I pressed 370 with relatively easily.
Yeah, and in fairness, you were like number 2 or 3 for your flight on bench press.
Yeah, I was toward the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, Overall, yeah, because I think his name was Eugene. He missed his second and third bench, and his second bench was the same as yours.
Is what I actually got.
Yeah. And then the only guy that I know that beat you, if someone else was in between, I guess I didn't know.
Short dude.
The dude
had
that
500-pound press.
He pressed 500. And missed
tall. With us being tall, there's very little we can do about somebody that's 5'6" and has 22-inch arms. They're probably always going to outbench us. You know what I mean? Like, and then basically had to take. Just went and deadlifted 200 pounds just to get on the board.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty big swing from expecting 6 to 650 to having to deadlift 200 just to say you made a total.
Yeah.
So it was a shit day.
Yeah, and just to go back a little bit, like during your warm ups, like we never really noticed anything. Like everything was good, and your first rep was so good. Like, and I had said something to Desi coming up. And I was like, man, that would be the worst thing that would happen is if something happened at the bottom of his squat. And when you did that first one, I was like, okay, that's completely gone out of my mind. Nothing's going to happen. Like, that's how good the squat was. And
it was 100% pain-free. Bounced it off my ankles. It was deep.
Mm-hmm.
Technically no problems. Didn't miss a call. Nothing like that.
Yeah,
3 watts. So
everything was perfect. And it's just crazy. Like, as soon as you hit the bottom... And I noticed there was like a small dip. Like it was like just a little bit further than you normally hit. I was like, I knew what happened. Instantly, I knew what happened. Just because I had seen it before.
Yeah.
I'm just glad the spotters this time, shout out to them, got to you so much faster.
Oh, I said, when I said get it, they got it. And that was it. You know what I mean?
They ripped it off you. It was very good on their part. So shout out to them.
Not a lot to feel good about it, though.
No. But if it had been the same situation as last time, it could have been worse. Because, if you had sat under that for a lot longer.
The last injury was a lot worse injury than this one. Yeah. I mean, I'm already walking around pretty good. Stairs are hard. I'm definitely not squatting 500 in the next several weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not going down like that. But I mean, I'll be able to – I feel like I'll probably be back squatting on the SSB bar my next lower body day, which will be Tuesday.
Yeah.
So – and it might be an empty barbell up to about a plate. I don't know. But
just going to feel it out, see how you feel, make sure nothing goes wrong.
As long as I can do it and I can move, I know I can build it back. So
yeah.
I don't get imaging done until Thursday. It's a Sunday today. So, nearly 2 weeks without imaging. I'm worried that they're not going to be able to see anything on the imaging, to be honest with you, because I'm worried it might be healed.
Right.
And then at that point, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about rehab for it?
Right, so,
yeah. It just is what it is. I reached out to another personal trainer in Jay Smith, who has a much more clinical background than I do. I have a lot more practical background, but he's done a lot more stuff with hand in hand with physical therapists and whatnot. So I think probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to get with him, and he's probably going to program my lower body days for the next 4 weeks or so after I get imaging done, so we know what to rehab.
Right.
And by the sound of it, we're going to do a lot of rehab work, but we're also going to do a lot of unilateral stuff, and then plyometrics. We're going to get back to where I'm jumping regularly, specifically like 1 foot hops and stuff like that, and try to build my IT band back up. So, don't know that in great detail yet, but I'm probably going to pay him to, like I said, handle my rehab. So,
right.
This is what it is.
I mean, that's what you got to do at this point.
It is. That's the only thing there is to do. So, in general, though, my general mood of the day, despite getting hurt, was actually pretty decent. Definitely feel like I have a lot to achieve still in powerlifting. I think I'm going to achieve it better if I stay through the goal that I'm going to and leaning up and doing the summer shred thing. And I think my body just needs a break too. I mean, after a major injury, but I think next time I'm 275 or 308, I think I'll be a lot healthier, and I think I'll be a lot stronger. And I can't say anything negative about Ron. Ron was a great coach, did everything. He had me the strongest I've ever been before in my life. So everything he did worked. Him and his business partners, Richard and Avery, I have to shout out to them. They were very accommodating and very helpful with my injury. They did, Avery specifically went above and beyond trying to help me. Another one of Ron's girls whose name escapes me, made sure I had ice, made sure I was taken care of. So Ron and Ron's staff, man, about the best I can ever be. And, it was good, even though I did have a minor pec injury, it was good to be able to kind of go and impose my will on bench press. Mm-hmm. And realistically, I probably could have taken my third attempt and hit, 385 or heavier. But at that point, I felt like I was just doing the best I could. You know what I mean? So
there was one PR you didn't want that day.
And I didn't want to make 2 injuries in a meet. Yeah. I'm prone apparently to get injured one time in a meet because I'm 2 for 2 in that now.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to make it 2 injuries in a meet. So would it have made it? Probably, but
was it worth it at that point?
At that point, I'm hurting so bad anyway. I'm like, fuck, I can't hurt.
Can't hurt.
And the problem, I'll be honest, the problem with a chest injury is, if you strain a pec, a major strain of pec, especially if it comes detached, you're probably not doing anything. You're not doing any upper body work. You can't squat because you can't get under the barbell.
Yep.
You can probably do single-handed SSBs, but that'd be the only squat you're doing. You're not going to deadlift. Can't press, can't overhead press, can't do anything like that. At least with the IT band, I am able to do some lower body stuff, and my upper body's unencumbered. Mm-hmm. So, knowing what I know about a pec strain, I really probably got the preferable of the 2 injuries.
Yeah.
But it would have shut me down completely for 12 weeks. It'd have been cardio only. Yeah. If I'd have got a pec strain. So, I feel like I made the right decision.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it was right. And, it's not that your second bench moved bad at all, but the fact that you couldn't get really any leg drive out of it or 1 foot of leg drive is kind of like.
Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm impressed with my bench press because it was a narrower grip than I normally bench with to try to keep it out of the pec. I wasn't getting any leg drive. I might as well have done a Larson press. All those things considered, and I definitely had 385 if I would have wanted it. About as strong of a press day as you can have with no leg drive, to be honest. So,
yeah, if you had been perfectly healthy, I definitely think we would have seen a 400.
Yeah, I think 402 or 407 was the plan. And, we didn't make it, but that's fine. Yeah. Ended up totaling 1023, solid, 500 pounds less than I wanted to total. Mm-hmm. But when you can't deadlift.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, you got a 200-pound deadlift.
Basically on one leg.
You still deadlifted. I mean, you still got it. So there's something to be said about that. Just the fact that you decided that you were going to just finish it out anyway, that says a lot. So
yeah, moving forward, I think that on meet day, I'm just going to have to accept that even if I had a really, really good prep on squats, I think I'm just going to have to be ultra conservative. Mm-hmm. Because what I can't do is I can't keep allowing squats to cost me my deadlift because I am a deadlifter.
Yeah,
I can deadlift. Frustrating thing about that is I might not have had the biggest total that day, but I would have been top 3 biggest totals by far. And plenty of guys that out squatted me, but I don't think there's anybody that deadlifts with me. Was there?
There was. I think the best deadlift that I saw was 640 something.
So I'm definitely in that range.
Yeah,
it's achievable. I'm not saying I would have pulled it last Saturday, but it's not like I was going to get dusted by 100 pounds on deadlift.
No.
So. And it seemed to be that I pretty much benched better than all but one. So
yeah,
I would have made up for squat. So I think moving forward, I'm just going to have to, if I got to go, just take my opening attempt at 405
and call
smoke it and wave them. I think I just got to get to where I can make it to my third bench and all 3 deadlifts, to be honest with you. Because then I don't think I have much to worry about. So it definitely has changed my mind in terms of strategy. Mm-hmm. But, just a couple of weeks prior, man, I absolutely crushed 505 in the weight room, squatting. And didn't slow me down much. It was a really fast rep. Didn't look much different than that 451 on meet day, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then just to know that, man, just
25 pounds less than that. Just
broke my shit. Yeah, it's really fucking frustrating.
So I have a question about that. So if you were in Ron's shoes and they were going to stick with you moving forward, what would you do as far as their meet day? Would you do the same thing that you're saying, or would you
as a coach?
As a coach,
I mean,
obviously,
first of all, I'll do exactly what he's doing, encouraging me to do. Get the imaging done. Go to a physical therapist. Work through it appropriately and correctly. But honestly, man, I think it just depends. It depends on the person. Obviously, my confidence is pretty fucking shaken because I've gone 2 for 2, hurt myself squatting at meets. Mm-hmm. So I think I would honestly have to say it's very individual. If it was somebody like me that has obviously got a confidence issue now because of a history, I would say that we would go pretty conservative. Yeah.
You think you would still say just take your opener and scratch the rest?
I don't know that we'd scratch the rest, but we might have much more conservative numbers across the board.
Right.
Yeah. So, especially if I knew that their bread and butter was bench press and deadlift.
Yeah.
Like, it just is what it is. I do have some people that are a little bit better at shaking stuff like that, and as long as they felt confident, we could go with a full-fledged plan. But and me, myself, and my situation I'm in, and how I just feel mentally, if I was dealing with somebody like that, we would probably go pretty damn conservative.
You think you would tell them to take a really long off season and kind of do what you're doing and like go through a bodybuilding? Or
yeah, because obviously there's a weakness there I have to address.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think my weakness this time, because of the nature of the injury and because it did heal quickly, I think my biggest weakness this time wasn't actually in the weight room. It was the fact that I cut out almost all mobility this time. And I was in a really good habit of stretching my hips and my IT bands and stuff like that.
Right.
And I have been for years. And this is probably the first time in 5 or 6 years that I didn't actively have a stretching routine through prep. Part of it was time, being a small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it sucks to be in the gym for 2 or 3 hours at a time when you have other shit going on.
Yep.
But I mean, it's just, I learned the hard way. It's just something I'm going to have to prioritize. So, like for instance, like this IT band injury, I can't set my ankle on my knee, so I can't
Right.
cross my legs. It's uncomfortable to just cross my feet even, because it stretches the IT band. So it kind of, like I said, the nature of the injury kind of makes me think that it was
just mobility, just a lack of mobility. And when you had that weight all the way at the bottom, do you think you squatted a little deeper?
I definitely have a tendency to squat deeper away from a gym mirror than I do. So one of the things I'm going to change is I think you've seen Kevin Heatherly, the strongman that's a friend of ours at the gym, do it. He always squats opposite in the squat rack because we got 4-post racks.
Yeah.
So he just moves the J-hooks to the other side and faces out instead of facing in. So I think that's probably what I'll do from now on, and I'm just going to train a bi-feel super deep squat because obviously on meet day I like to bounce it off my ankles for some goddamn reason. So that's probably what's coming.
Yeah.
And I really had done a better job of picking my depth. I've always squatted too deep. I've done a better job about picking my depth up.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't train that deep of a squat all the way through. And then I wasn't doing my mobility on top of that. So I really do think it was a mobility issue this time. So.
And then, on top of not training the deep squat, not doing the mobility, you probably did dump it a little harder than you normally do, right? So you tried to get a little lower so that you could... You wanted to make sure depth was there.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely didn't want depth to be a question, but I mean, it wasn't. I mean, if you
right.
saw that, if you saw the first one, I mean, shit, my thighs disappeared behind my knees, completely. It wasn't even. It was well beyond regulation depth.
Yeah.
So, that was dumb on my part, but also I just didn't know. I mean, just like I said, there was no telltale sign that I was injured going into that second squat.
Yeah. It's not the same as the first one where you could tell something was going on. You were a little
the first time I hurt myself, I was obviously hurt during warm-ups. Went and hit my first squat fine. I didn't think it would. I wasn't making a big enough jump for it to go on the second one, at least in my mind. So I'd already waived my third attempt before I made my second, and then that's when the adductor got me.
Yeah.
But this was completely the opposite. I could have seen that one coming.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I'm telling you, if Ron would have said, "Go squat 500 on your second attempt," I would have done it happily.
Yeah.
It's probably good that he didn't because it probably could have hurt me worse.
Right.
But just is what it is. I mean,
yeah. A lot of variables you never really know. Could have been heavy enough that maybe you didn't squat it as deep. Maybe you were like, oh, I need to get this off me. And you never know with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the hard part about it really mentally is I already struggled with feeling like whether or not I belonged in the sport. Mm-hmm. And 2 meets in a row with 2 major injuries definitely makes me feel like I do not belong in the sport. You know what I mean? Right. And that sucks because I've only dedicated my entire life and career to the sport. So, and I've never had super high expectations for myself athletically because I am a better coach than an athlete. But, it does make you kind of feel like a fraud when you coach powerlifters that are much better than you. And, you can't even put a total together, you know what I mean? So
there's guys out there like Les Keys. Let's just nothing wrong with
Les is
Les
a strong
Keys.
dude.
Not saying he's not strong, but the guys he coaches compared to him, right?
Yeah,
There's like a magnitude of difference.
There is.
So there's just that's just
some people are coaches and some people are players, and that's the truth. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, not a man I like, and but it is a man I respect. But you think about Nick Saban. He didn't win a Super Bowl ring or a national championship as a college or professional professional football player.
Yep.
I'm not even sure he played pro.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he played, defensive back at Kent State. Like he wasn't at an Alabama or an Auburn or Miami or some of these big schools. And look at him. He's like it or not, and I happen to not like it, but like it or not, he's the best coach to ever do it. And,
yeah.
So I do have to separate coach and player in my head, but like at the same time, like this shit's a rite of passage for us, and I've always been really good about encouraging y'all to compete and compete often, even when you didn't feel like you were good enough. And I really wanted my revenge on that 2020 meet that took me out, and now I have a year to prep for taking revenge out on the 2023 meet. So I mean, it just seems like here I am now officially in a 4-year cycle of overcoming injury.
Yeah.
So 4 years is a lot of your fucking life.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot of pain and heartache and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into it, and currently don't feel like I have anything to show for it.
Right.
So
well, I mean,
and I don't feel like I'll be honest with you. I don't think there's a whole lot of people on this planet that outwork me in it.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that are better, but I don't think there's too many people walking around that work harder than I do at it.
Yeah.
So, and that's not a shot at you or anybody else, but I absolutely have no issues doing the fucking work.
Yeah.
None. So
that
fucking sucks.
Even when it's hard, even when you don't want to, you go in there and you do it anyway, right?
Doesn't matter if I'm sick, hurt. Like I can find if I'm hurt, I'll find a workaround. Like I said, I mean, the meet was last Saturday, so officially I'm 8 days out from the meet. I've hit 2 lower body days with a torn IT band.
Right.
So in that span. So I'm not quitting.
Right. Yeah.
I just feel like I'm a long way away from that revenge right now.
Yeah.
Even further removed from that 2020 revenge, because I definitely don't feel like I got revenge on 2020. I feel like it just showed up and kicked me in the nuts again. This past meet was basically Empire Strikes Back.
So there was no A New Hope.
No, we pretty much just skipped episode 4. We went from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
From 3 to 5 rather.
Yeah, 3 to 5. Yeah. So we got to get the return though.
Yeah, we do.
Couple years.
I hope it's not a couple years. Next year's my first year as a submaster, which I'll continue to compete open because I'll be honest with you, in the gym I just don't feel like an old man.
Yeah.
I mean, it still feels new to me because I wasn't a athlete growing up and stuff. Like my training age is a little over 10 years now, but it's still not. That's still not very old training age compared to other people that are in their 30s. Yeah. Most people started this shit when they were in middle school and for football. So like, where I'm 10, 11 years deep, most people by now are 20 years deep. So, I feel like I have a lot left to give.
Yeah.
It might have to be push-pull only. I don't know, but...
Cross that bridge when we come to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go... I don't think I can do it without full power, to be honest with you. I'm going to go... If it has to be a plate, I'm going to go squat something.
Right.
Maybe I'm just going to have to register for open submasters and push-pull. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, we're going to have to do something, but I'm not quitting.
For sure.
I'm sure as fuck not quitting. Like
yeah.
I feel like now, like... I know a lot of people would probably be discouraged by an injury, and it's not that I'm not discouraged, but now I'm such a stubborn fucking person. I'm just like, no, I'm gonna get this right one time.
Yeah.
It might only be one time, but I'm gonna get this right one time.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else to add on your meet day or anything?
Definitely thanks to Ron again. Ron's a great coach, and anybody listening, if you want one, you should go to him. I have encouraged Austin to go to Ron, which Austin, besides you and Austin are probably the two friends that we have that have the most 2,000 pound potential in a total. And I told Ron that, and I was like, this guy's legit. He was the first person in Coleman to total anything significant. He's gone, 1723. So he's gone 688, 430, and 688, 430, and 650, I think. Right. So yeah, well, at the time I think he did 605 at the time he squatted 688 on deadlift. But he has bigger
reps,
deadlift
right?
now. Yeah. So I mean, he's going 1723 in reps. So I mean, I don't know if he'll continue to compete in reps or not, but I do think that Austin's got a true 2,000 pound potential. So, like all things, I would say, like I do a lot, I'd say seek out a coach because I'll tell you, just having Ron there made the day easier after the injury too.
Yeah.
He had a lot of good things to say. Kind of helped me get my head out of my ass. Pretty much told me I had, potentially the biggest nuts in the room for going out there and wanting to finish.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I was gonna, when I first got off the platform, I definitely didn't think I was gonna finish my day.
Yeah. Well, it didn't look like it at first. I mean, when you started being able to put weight on your foot and you kind of started walking a little better, it was like, okay, there's something, left.
Yeah.
Right. You didn't just leave it all on that squat.
Yeah. So I mean, I will say this too, on that second bench attempt, which I did smoke, I did finally start feeling it in that IT band.
Yeah.
Just from whatever little leg drive I was probably trying to have, it definitely was, that hip was a little crunchy on that second bench press attempt. So, I think I made the right call on bench press, and then deadlift, I mean, I just had to do what I could do. So
Yeah.
I actually think today I could probably deadlift to capacity. A hip hinge no longer hurts it. So
Right.
leg extension hurts it.
Yeah.
Can't lunge, can't split squat. Stairs are pretty difficult right now, but I can do freestanding squats, not with much weight, but I can do freestanding squats now. So I've got quite a bit of mobility back.
Yeah.
So
In a short amount of time too.
yeah, that day though, there ain't no goddamn way I was deadlifting what I was supposed to deadlift anyway. I could have, honestly, I mean, in retrospect, maybe I could have loaded up, done what I did with 200 and loaded up 300 and pulled it once, and maybe could have got closer to a 400 pound deadlift. But I mean, I was basically having to go just no real. I mean, there was no real technique involved because I couldn't. It was just grab it however I could grab it and just yank the thing off the floor. So
Yeah, and it's not worth getting your low back into it and hurting your low back on top of everything else that happens.
Yeah, I mean, at that point I just wanted to finish, and that was the goal. We knew what we had to have to make a minimum of 1,000. So, I think it was like 180. So I just went ahead and called a number up a little over 200 and got it, waved it off, finished my day. So,
Well, it's just one of those things. There's nothing you can do about it now except move towards the future, which is something I wanted to touch on a little bit. So you have a new goal now. It's the summer shredding event in October in Texas, right?
Yeah, I think it's October 15th or 21st. I don't remember right now, but going to Sugar Land, Texas to compete as a bodybuilder, and
first time ever competing as a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I think that's going to leave a lot to be desired because. I do believe in training for strength even when you're in a bodybuilding phase and even when you're in off season. So I pyramided down on my inclines last night. It took a lot out of me because not because I'm injured, but because I'm not used to hitting 30 plus reps. So I think I ended with like 275 for a double. I could probably double 315 right now, but not after 30 reps.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I am still training. Not necessarily with specific numbers in mind, but it is still a little bit strength oriented. The meet left a lot to be desired, so I definitely have powerlifting on the back of my brain. But it feels really good to go in there and do different stuff. Work on weaknesses, trying to bring my arms and my back up. So I'm doing some type of arm work pretty much every day. Some type of back work on every upper body day. It also feels good I feel a little better already, so it feels good to be a little thinner. By the time we release this, I'll probably be 10 pounds down or so.
Yeah.
Which isn't super significant, but it's also only been
8 days.
8 days. So, I'm losing a pound to a pound and a half a day right now. And basically that's just from going from, 5,500 calories a day to about 3,000.
Yeah.
So, there's days I go a little over, there's days I go a little under. Well, basically right now, I wanted to start tracking calories, but right now I'm just kind of eating intuitively. Take some pressure off of my brain, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then as much as I don't really agree with it, I lose weight really quickly like that and always maintain muscle mass. Probably going to go carnivore, low carb, my second set of 4 weeks. So
Yeah.
about 4 weeks into this, hopefully I'll be, between 10 and 20 pounds down. And then about with low carb for 4 to 6 weeks, probably get me another 10 to 20 pounds down. And then I'm hoping that'll buy me some time by May or June to go on a little mini bulk for about 6 weeks and then cut from there on out. So
You're gonna eat clean while you're bulking, just kind of like
I think I'm going to have to
rice.
because I'm setting myself up with too many good habits now, so I don't necessarily want to backtrack.
Right.
So by that time, I'll definitely be tracking and logging pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But I'll probably, when I say bulking too, I'm probably going to eat just slightly above maintenance. My maintenance calories right now is like 3,900.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I can eat, 4,000, 4,100 and probably only gain a pound or two a month. So
Right.
it's probably going to be the minimum. Also, just keep my strength and, like I said, keep my strength up and put some muscle mass back on me.
Yeah.
That's the only real goal. So
So you don't have a goal weight or
my goal weight for October, I registered at 215, but now I know, even with the weight loss I've had already, that's probably too thin. Again, me and Elizabeth, who has experience in this now, both agree that my strength moving into this is that while I'm overweight, my competitors are coming from a sedentary lifestyle to bodybuilding. I'm coming from powerlifting to bodybuilding.
Right.
So I have a significant amount more muscle mass than my competitors do
Right.
already. So a strength of mine is probably going to be to maintain as much muscle mass as possible, which means I honestly think, just eyeballing the way I look now, I honestly think I'll probably cap it 235 to 240.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's another 50 pounds of weight loss from where I'm at right now.
Right.
So, I mean, like, that's not a small number, but I'm also only, I'm probably 25% body fat now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, 50 pounds of weight loss is going to get me deep into the teens.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I really don't see a practical reason to be less than about 240, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Unless I just don't achieve the look that I want. You know what I
Right.
mean? But,
And you have more time to spend,
Yeah,
more time to lose some weight.
but I don't think, I think at that point, 50 pounds of weight loss, my transformation will be pretty fucking extreme.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not at a goal
Right. Body fat
percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to still be, I'm going to be sub 15 easily by that point, probably.
Yeah.
So,
And just from my experience of just recently going on a shortcut, which I guess it was like 2 months, right?
Yeah.
About 2 months. And I went from 230 something to 199. So I lost about 30 something pounds. And I know I didn't achieve what I wanted. Except I got a little bit in my quad, which I was excited about. I got some striations in my quad. Never really felt like I got the body fat percentage I wanted to be at. And then putting the weight back on, though, which was the best part of it, putting the weight back on, I did notice I do look fuller. There is less body fat overall. So
I think, honestly, realistically, I think to get a ideal, like, stage lean, I think it takes years of cutting maintenance bulk until you finally have enough muscle mass on your frame and in your weight class that when you cut, it's significant. It's
Right.
a significant difference in look. It's definitely a long game, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't expect to be. I'm not going to be able to compete later in the day in another division. Like,
Right.
there's no way I'm going to be that lean by October. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I just have to be more muscular and a little bit better conditioned than my competitors.
Yeah.
So, because, it is transformation category, so they're not necessarily looking for me to be, 5% or less. And
they're
shit
not
like
looking
that,
for Kai Green.
They're not. Yeah, they're not looking for that. They're looking for who changed their life the most.
Yeah.
Which, I'm at a disadvantage already because I do come from an athletic background. So, and a lot of these people, like I said, are coming from, honestly, much worse situations and sedentary lifestyles and stuff like that. But I'll tell you this too. I kind of don't give a fuck. And it's not to say that I'm not sympathetic or empathetic to their situation, but just like in powerlifting, I'm not going to fucking lose.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to lose. If I lose, I lose. It's fine. But
But you're not
that's
going
not the
there
fucking
with the goal. Yeah.
I'm going there with the intent of beating their ass.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the big things that you have going for you, you know, a lot of people have, you know, stories of, I was so overweight, all these things happened to me. You have the story of, I was hurt twice by, you know, this sport. You know, I'm coming back from injury after injury, being overweight, you know.
Well, I have the opposite perspective too, that I know what it feels like to have an eating disorder and weigh, you know, 90 pounds less than my suggested BMI. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, I mean, I've had anorexia. I've suffered from anorexia and bulimia before. You know, there was a time I was, you know, 6'1" and 130 pounds. So, like, I've been on both ends of the spectrum in an extreme way.
Yeah.
So,
so you have a really good understanding of what it feels like on both ends.
Yeah. I mean, in my life, I've seen a 170 pound swing from 130 in, you know, the 9th, 10th grade to the 300 that I started this out at. Mm-hmm. Like, I've also seen it as just a fat 270, like a non-athletic, non-gym going 270. And I'm telling you, I was much worse then at a much lighter weight than I am now at this weight. So, I mean, like, I've seen it from every angle. There's not a lot that I can't, you know, I've never been a hard gainer, so I can't identify with you as much as I can other people. But I have seen, you know, in terms of body dysmorphia, I have seen myself at extremes.
On all ends
of it, yeah. So, my biggest fear, honestly, is it's a really strange thing, and it's an obsessive compulsive behavior that happens to people with like BPD or CPTSD in my case. But once you see the scale moving, it's like you get like dopamine dumps, and you like become addicted to this goal achieving. It's not necessarily. It feels the same as like, oh, I just hit a 10-pound bench PR, like, and then we dump it as powerlifter. We dump it automatically. We're like, okay, how do I get a 20-pound bench PR? And then, you know, whatever it may be. Like, as soon as you hit 405, guess what you want next? You want 455, right?
Yep.
Like, so it kind of happens the same. Like, you know, I'm going to hit a goal weight eventually, and I'm going to say, oh no, I can do a little bit more. I can do more. I can do more. I can do more. And I remember that very vividly from the ages of 13 to 16 as a kid, thinking that, you know, well, I've lost 40 pounds, but like I can do better. Like, let's go a little bit better. To the point then that I started rolling. At the time we had mechanical scales, not digital scales. So, you know, I got to where you could set it, you could calibrate your scale, right? So I got to where I was like calibrating the scale up like 20 pounds. So I'd get on the scale, it might say I weighed 185, but in reality I weighed, you know, 160, 165. You know, to the point that I was playing mind games with myself to make me think that I was bigger than I actually was. And like, because I was addicted to the feeling of being, you know, smaller. So like, so it's a weird thing. So I do have some worry that I'm in my mind somehow this is going to snowball out of control and I'm going to wake up 170 pounds one day. You know what I mean? So, which would not be good for my future of powerlifting.
Right.
To be honest with you. But, you know, that is a fear because it really does happen that way. Yeah.
Well, I think that just the culmination of your experience with everything you've done so far, I feel like you probably won't, because you will probably at some point look in the mirror and be like, oh, I'm looking really thin. I'm not looking as big as I used to. I kind of want to get back to that.
Yeah.
I think that's where you will end up. If you get to a point where you start feeling too thin, you will want to your brain will go back to, I need to put the weight back on. Because I know that's, excuse you.
Sorry. Yeah, so I mean, it's a funny thing. I mean, it is. I mean, how my brain works, or really how it doesn't. I should say that. But yeah, I mean, that's a big fear, and I don't want to be, like I said, I don't want to be 170 pounds again necessarily. But you know, like you said, you get addicted to that feeling, and it just, you know, you want to keep it going. And that sucks. I will say wholeheartedly that mentally, and how I feel about myself, I have more confidence heavier than I do lighter now. Yeah. And that might be the
deciding
thing.
factor.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
like, you know, like I'm a big dude. Like, I'm physically imposing now. Like, I don't really have I know in my mind I don't ever want to be like weak and timid again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean, because when I cut all that weight and got 199, I was like, I feel small. I don't like this. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'd rather die of heart disease and let my liver fall out of my fucking ass doing drugs, but than to be weak and timid again. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't want that for myself.
It's just one of those things. I guess me, as a younger person, when I was thinner, 170, 180 pounds, I guess I didn't know anything different, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know what it feels like to be heavier, to be more confident. And, not to say you can't be light and be confident, because, there's guys out there who fight MMA who are 180 pounds who could whip both of our asses.
Yeah,
But, there's something about,
knowing that, most 99.9% of most bars you walk into, you're the baddest motherfucker.
Right.
It is what it is. Unless that, lightweight MMA fighters in there. You know
right.
what I mean? Like, it is what it is, right? And it does feel not necessarily be feared, but it does feel good to be respected, I guess, for other men to look at you and say, I bet that guy's fucking strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it does feel good. And honestly, man, look at the people that's brought me to. It's changed my life for a lot of reasons, but there is a respect that being physically strong buys you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're physically strong and you're not an asshole. You know what I mean? Like,
especially if you're nice about it. If you're nice to other people, they're like, this guy's strong and nice. That's like, you're a superhero, right?
Yeah.
You're Superman.
I will say, powerlifting in the future too. When I go back to it, I might do more multi-modality stuff when I go back to lifting heavy. I might go back to messing around because my mobility will be better. I might go back to messing around with some Olympic weightlifting. I might go drop in, do some strongman stuff where I can. At West Alabama or whatever. Is it Misfits Barbell? What is that in Mount Moulton?
I'm not sure.
But, I might do some more stuff like that when I go back to strength training just to experience something different for a while. And then, but ultimately, like I said, this is all about powerlifting. So, I'm cutting weight to be a better powerlifter. That's the hope. So I just happen to have an injury I have to get over now. So not quitting. It's just going to look different.
Yeah.
So.
And that's one of the things I was thinking about is, being goal oriented. So this is, at the end of the day, this is a step, the Summer Shred event is a step. It's a goal, but it's also a step goal to being a better powerlifter.
It is. Yeah, that's true.
Being goal oriented has led to a lot of success, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In my personal life and in the gym and everything, right? So I can very much be that. And let me just say this, if I'm sounding like I'm sulking about being injured, and I think anybody probably would to some extent, but Louis said it, and Louis said it best, and I something I believe in, but weak things break. I got hurt for a reason. Because my training or my care of myself, I don't think it was my training. I really do think Ron did as good of a job as anybody could have. But there was a lack of something that caused that to be a weakness. And I really do believe it was mobility on my part. Shouldn't have stopped doing my yoga and stuff like that. I should have continued my mobility. But there's a reason I broke. And, I'll say this to anybody that's currently going through an injury too. There's a reason you broke, and you can either sulk and be a bitch about it and you can fucking quit. Because you're hurt and it's uncomfortable. Or you can say, I have done something wrong. Next time I'm not fucking doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to have to get hurt some other way next time because it ain't going to be this. That's exactly what I did, to be fair. I knew that my groin was a weakness coming off of a groin tear. And, it didn't tear this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was something else. But like I said, weak things break. You can look at it and it teaches you something. Allow it to teach you something. Like, I neglected something that I will never neglect again.
Yeah. And that's
it's a shitty way to learn it. But being weak and having something broken it's actually positive biofeedback.
Right.
That teaches you where you can get better now. Like, this can be improved upon. I can make myself a better lifter and a better athlete if I get better at this thing now. That's the proper attitude to have about it.
Yeah.
If you really think about it in the long term, not in the short term, but in the long term, it's a gift. Because you're not going to have to worry about that now if you're willing to go work on it.
Right.
So
that's a big if. A lot of people don't want to work on it. The first time I had a pec strain or whatever it was, I think it was just a strain. I was just kind of like, well, that sucks. I'm going to let it heal. I'm going to do what it takes to rehab it. Didn't think about it again until I strained both of them at the same time. And then it was like, okay, so now I have to change something because this is the second time this has happened under heavy load.
Obviously, you're fucking up somewhere.
Yeah, so it took me more than one time. Of course, the first time it healed really fast. I was back to full capacity in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I was like, oh, it was just something minor. It's not a big deal, right? Whereas if it was something like I tore it off the bone, it'd be like, okay, yeah, we got to. It'd be immediate, right? Because it'd be something much more severe. So the severity does matter in your injury. But when I strained them both immediately, I was like, okay. Obviously, I've got too much stretch under load. I need to practice more, more of a stretch. And for my competition, I'm just going to bring my hands in a little closer to get it out of my chest so much and try and recruit more tricep because I already have fairly big arms, not gigantic, but fairly big arms, especially for my size. So if I can recruit more tricep anyway, I'm probably going to get stronger at it anyway, even if my range of motion is a little longer. If I can be better and healthy, if I can be healthier, I can be better. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big part of it. Like I said, it's easy to sit here and sulk, and I've done plenty of that, I realize. But I mean, really, when you get over the initial shock of being injured and the initial bummer of being injured, you should really look at it as a blessing because it really is feedback you can use to get better.
No.
It didn't happen for no reason. Even there was no indication I was going to be injured. It was really a freak accident. But looking back at it now, I have identified, 3 or 4 things that I used to do that I no longer do. And
that you will do in the future.
That I will do in the future. Absolutely. I'm going to maintain my mobility and, all my yoga stuff in the future. I'm not going to give up on that because obviously I fucking break myself when I do, So try to just not make, I guess, the good thing about it is I can live with myself a little better on this injury knowing it wasn't the same as the injury before.
Yeah.
And I'd feel like fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
Like, at least it wasn't the same fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's some comfort in that a little bit. Like, at least I was smart enough to rectify what got me here in the first place.
Right.
This will get rectified, and next time, the good Lord willing, I'll be able to go, wire to wire, injury free. But if something else happens, then
we'll learn from it.
Don't let it be this thing again, and we'll learn from it, and we'll fix it too.
Mm-hmm.
Just as it's the nature of the beast, man. And I just don't think, a couple of weeks of pain is worth it to be, the strongest guy it's worth it to be a little bit healthier, a little bit better than our peers. It's worth it. Even though I'm not good in the sport, it's worth it to stay in the sport. It's worth it to just have a place to put your mind and put some willpower. So
yeah, helps with your mental health too. Just to kind of have some place where you can kind of, if you're with somebody, maybe not so much, but when you're by yourself, you kind of have a lot of time to think things through. Even if, maybe you're working through a heavy set and you kind of have to focus on that. When you're done, you have plenty of rest time. You think about things that are going on. Kind of a lot of times I'll be thinking about, stuff I need to do, how I'm going to do it, problems that I'm having, problems that I have to solve, how am I going to solve the problem. Just a lot of stuff like that when I'm in the gym. At least when I'm by myself. If somebody's there talking to me, I'm not thinking about anything like that. But it is good to have a place like that.
Yeah.
For some people, it's driving to work every day. I do have to commute a little more now, so I do notice that I do a little more thinking while I'm driving. But the gym is where I spend more of that time because I'm there 5 days a week, hour and a half, 2 hours. A lot of that time is spent thinking about stuff. Yeah,
I mean, I don't blame you. And I think it's probably true of a lot of it, especially for us powerlifters and bodybuilders and strength athletes at large. I mean, the only thing the only thing anybody I feel like should take away from this is, don't quit. And then, like I said, get your sulking out of your system if you're hurt. But when you're done doing that, realize that it really is kind of a blessing because it really is. Pain is a great educator. It really freaking is. Yeah. It really can kind of be a blessing because, I bet I'd never have weak or immobile IT bands again.
Yeah.
At least I'm not stupid enough to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to be that dumb anymore. So, I mean, like I said, you got to take what you learned and get better from it. I mean, I tell you, there's a lot more vicious and difficult types of pain than physical pain.
Yeah.
Physical pain at the end of the day really ain't that big of a fucking deal.
It'll go away.
It'll go away.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. I mean, I got one that I have a partially torn labrum. It might not ever go away. I mean, that don't go away. But like,
Right.
I promise you that there's worse pains to know than physical pain.
Yeah.
100%. Mental pain is much, much worse than anything I can do to myself physically. A sick part of me, like, I don't like being hurt, so don't get me wrong, but like, a sick part of me kind of does like this process.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I know that I'm bad at this thing now, and I get to go fix it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's probably better ways to experience it. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, it's shitty. I'm pissed off that it took my meat day away from me. But there's, like I said, there's worse pain than physical pain. It really is a gift. It's a good educator. So you just got to listen to it and fix it. So.
Yep. Got anything else?
No, I don't think so. That's pretty much all the drag ass conversation I can handle.
I do have one question. It's a little bit out of left field, but as far as your injury goes, how do you feel about myofascial release on it?
I mean, there's a pretty good bit of that stuff I'm doing already. I'm not. So my PTA at my chiropractic's office will be able to do some of that, and I'm sure the physical therapist that I end up going to rehab it will ultimately do that too. But I'm already doing, I've already done quite a bit of treatment on my elbows, on my chest, of various types of, not necessarily pseudoscience like approaches, but like, and I find that I benefit from them quite a bit. At least, even if it's placebo, and there is no real physical benefit, does it really matter if you feel better?
Right.
Does it matter if it's physically working or not? If you actually feel better when it's over?
Yeah, I mean,
like, probably not. Like, so, yeah, I'm down for any of that. I mean, trigger point therapy, acupuncture, chiropractic adjustments, which I already believe in. Which I'd be hard pressed to say that that's completely a pseudoscience.
Right.
But I do know that a lot of the medical field frowns upon chiropractics to a big degree. Massage therapy, myofascial release. I wouldn't, honest to God, I didn't never do it. I probably should, but I mean, I would do peptide treatment. I haven't felt like I needed it, to be completely honest with you, because it did get better relatively quickly. But hell, I'm down for anything that works. We have a certain amount of tools given to us, and I think if you're not willing to at least try them, you're probably a little bit of a fool.
Right.
Like I said, pain's a good educator, but you also shouldn't just fucking lay down and fucking succumb to it.
Yeah.
Like, you should be actively trying to make yourself feel better.
Right.
So, like, don't wallow in it. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think there's a person in the world that legitimately wants to be in physical pain, right? So they want to get rid of it.
Which is the reason why it's such a good goddamn educator. Yeah. Like,
because you learn real quick how to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Because you're in so much pain, you're like, I'm gonna talk to anybody, just Google it, like whatever, talk to doctors, whatever I can find. I'm gonna try something to make it work.
Yeah.
That was kind of just a random thing because I started doing that recently. I started stretching and doing some foam rolling and some lacrosse ball.
I do a lot of I've done a lot of flossing with a lacrosse ball.
Yeah.
Personally, the only time my knees ever act up is when my quads are super tight, and a lacrosse ball just to the outside of that outer sweep of my leg really relieves a lot of pressure on my knees, and it can relieve it because it connects in your hip.
Yeah.
Relieve a little pressure in your hips too. So I mean, I don't mind any of that stuff. I've done it probably more dabbling in it than anything, but like, there's definitely very specific things I do it with.
Yeah.
If you ever had a rhomboid injury, everybody refers to it as a crick in your neck. But really what it is, it's a rhomboid strain, and it just makes your trap and your neck muscles just tighten up because they're compensating for that rhomboid. If you've ever had that, like, I promise you, some type of like massage gun, some type of myofascial release, something like that will 100% make you feel much, much better.
Yeah. So,
I mean, the proof's in the pudding, man. I mean, I don't really care I don't necessarily have to care what science says. If it makes me physically feel better, I don't give a fuck what their opinion is on it.
Right. Because I noticed,
it may be placebo, like I said, but I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I know. I noticed immediately, like the very first day that I did it, I could tell there was a ton of pain in my quads and my hamstrings and my back, like all across the board. There's a lot of pain, and I was like, man, rolling this out sucks. It hurts, but I know I'm doing something good here because it hurts. About a week or two in, there's no pain anymore. I roll it just to make sure that there's nothing tight, but when I start and when I finish, I usually don't notice much of a difference anymore.
I like to do some type of release on my quads after I've already got a couple of squat sets in.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like all this stuff works better when you have some heat in your muscles.
That makes sense.
You stretch a little better. That's the reason I prefer, static stretching post-workout.
Mm-hmm.
You can stretch a little better, a little deeper stretch, a little safer stretch because you're not taking something that's been stove up for 2 or 3 days and just going max stretch right out the gate. You've done something to warm it up. But I do prefer it like two or three squat sets in. It releases a little bit better, and then then it really provides me a whole lot of relief moving into my top sets. You know what I mean? So,
which is maybe something I need to consider because my knees have been killing me.
Yeah, I mean, that's as simple as just keeping a lacrosse ball in your bag, and like I said, just keeping that outside sweep rolled whenever you're doing it. So, yeah. That's it on that. I think we got some dad jokes.
Got some dad jokes. I saw a few that really made me laugh. So let's see if I can find them again. And
Dad says jokes, people.
If you're not following them, you're not living your best life. Let's just be honest. They also have apparel now, so. Oh, yeah, this one was good. My wife said she was leaving me because I was obsessed with changing my clothes every half hour. I told her I could change.
Good one. I haven't found one yet.
Do you know what type of doctor Dr. Pepper is?
What?
He's a physician. A physician.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, man. I'm trying to find a good one.
So I got arrested for stealing a complete set of encyclopedias. I told the police, hang on, I can explain everything.
Literally everything. Do you remember those things when we were kids?
Massive.
Tequila may not fix your life, but it's worth a shot.
I'm down. I mean, we got some in there. We could get some tequila shots.
My wife rearranged the labels on my spice rack.
Mm-hmm.
This is so dumb. I haven't confronted her yet, but the time is coming. Oh, man. Well.
Got one more?
Yeah, what's the worst reason to become a free solo climber?
A free solo climber?
Yeah. Fall. Worst season, not reason.
I was like, season. Reason, huh? Season, yeah.
What's the worst season? I butchered that.
That's okay. We forgive you. I forgive you. I don't know if the listeners forgive you.
Please forgive me.
We only have so many listeners. Please don't leave because of a butchered dad joke.
So I dreamed last night that I was invisible and that I married a woman that was invisible. I'm not sure what we saw in each other, but our kids were nothing to look at either.
That's good.
Yeah. Doing the best we can around here.
Oh, me. Trying to find one more.
No, we're done, I think.
Done.
Sorry for the solemn episode, but it was a shit day, so
yeah.
we had a shit day to talk about.
We kind of did have to talk about it, though, for anyone that didn't know or wanted a more detailed story. Or
yeah, it's like biggest takeaway, like I said, is don't be a bitch, don't quit.
Yeah. Injuries
happen, dude. People have... Little Micah Moreno's was an awesome powerlifter. I think he's multiplied now, but like he was raw for the longest. Man, that guy, I swear to God, he had a 3 or 4 year stint where he was injured the whole fucking time.
Right.
Got over one, had another one right after the other. And, that guy's a legend. Papa Bear Rogers, double quad separations, like double leg surgeries at the same time. Couldn't fucking walk, didn't quit. Like, I have a torn labrum. Joe Sullivan talks about having a completely severed labrum and still squats 800 pounds.
Yep.
Like, I mean, don't be a bitch. Don't quit.
I agree.
That's it.
Cool.
Yep.
Well.
Later.
Is that all we got?
That's it.
Well, Don't forget to rate us 5 stars on Spotify. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. You can donate money for Zack and his injury. We do have a PayPal set up for donations.
Yeah, send me money. Need PT money.
Yeah, PT money.
PT money.
PT
I swear to God, I won't spend it on Trend.
I guess that's it. And we'll see you guys next week.
Later.